Hi, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video. This is a request for Drew Reviews. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for Timebomb, the 1991 film starring Michael Biehn. From The Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, among many other films. You also have Patsy Kensit from Lethal Weapon 2, Tracy Scoggins, who was in films like Watchers 2, which I'm a sucker for, with her and Mark Senior from The Beastmaster. Billy Blanks, creator of Timebomb, he has a role in this. Robert Culp has a small role in this. And the movie's about Michael Biehn as his watchmaker, and he's living his life just day by day until one day this building nearby, there's an explosion, there's a fire, there's a woman and her baby in trouble. He rescues them, he gets on TV, and some people recognize him and go, wait a minute, he's supposed to be dead. And then they're trying to kill him, and you're wondering why they're doing it. He's wondering why they're doing it. Trying to find out that previously he had lost his memory, and he was part of this program where they would brainwash people and make assassins. And you've seen this type of stuff before, whether it be, if that's exactly the case, I'm going back to the Manchurian Candidate, even later on, you have The Long Twisted Night, you got The Bourne Identity. So it's not the most original idea. Of course, some of those films came out later, but I mean, there was films before that had that where the other person, oh my god, I'm actually an assassin. Or people are programmed. I think like Telephone with Charles Bronson, that was part of the story. So in order to get help with these memories, this woman that came in earlier to get her watch fixed is Patsy Kensit, who is a psychologist. So he tries to get help from her and tries to figure out what's going on. You did a couple of decent action sequences. And like I said, Michael Biehn is definitely the best part of the movie. He's definitely an important part of the movie because, number one, I'm a sucker for Michael Biehn. I liked him as an actor. I think he's always been an underrated actor. And it's great to see him in a lead role. Because he didn't get to do that a whole lot, sadly. I think his drinking kind of hurt that as well. I guess he wasn't looked at as a box office attraction as a lead star. But I thought he gave a fairly solid performance, whether being confused, being angry, or just being the regular guy. The action scenes, I guess I looked up that they wanted like a Jean-Claude Van Damme or an actual action star for this movie, but they'd have Michael Biehn, which will work for the acting, but you're not going to see a lot of big fisticuffs or martial arts or either of the sort. And there's some decent production value. Like when he saves the woman and the baby, there's this nice shot with him in the foreground. Well, him here, and he's staring away from the camera and sees the big building and it's all on fire and explosion. It's all done in the same frame. There's some decent action scenes. There's a shootout in a porno theater, which is not typical. Patsy Kensit, while she seems a bit young to be a psychiatrist, I always liked her. Beautiful lady. I thought she worked fine in the role. I see Billy Blanks, but you don't really get to see much of his martial arts talent, sadly. So, to me, I thought he was kind of wasted. Because if you have Billy Blanks, if you're not going to show much of his martial arts, then what's the point? Tracy Scoggins likes to see her in there. Throughout the film, there's certain moments that I thought were really interesting to look at. The opening scene where there's all these mannequins in a ballroom. You're wondering what this is about. Then you come to find out this is a testing facility where each of these assassins are sitting down at their points and they're testing how fast they draw the weapon and shoot at this one mannequin that's going to be the intended target for later on. There's, like I said, the shootout scene at a portal theater. There's a bit where Michael Biehn and Patsy Kensit, they find this facility and they open up this door and there's this big, huge chamber, which I'm sitting there going, they fucking left all this stuff there and it's still working after all these years? That's a bit weird. But it's this like huge looking chamber, dusty cobwebs, and he gets in this thing and he's able to get a bit of his memories back. It's like a lab from Resident Evil. There's some decent stunt work. There's a bit where he's on his bicycle and he's supposed to get hit by this van. Whoever took the hit, pretty good hit that he took. But you kind of wish that this would have been with like a PM Entertainment, or if it was the 80s, a Canon film release. At this point, it would have been probably PM Entertainment. Just for those who don't know, they did films like Zero Tolerance with Robert Patrick. They did this sci-fi film called Dark Breed. They did another one called T-Force, where they took plots that would seem fairly generic, but they put in gusto with action scenes, explosions, gunfights, squibs, car chases. You kind of wish they would have had... You wish this movie had that gusto impact to it. Just, in particular with the middle, it gets a bit sluggish in the pacing. It doesn't help that the score, the music, is hot garbage. I hate the musical score to this movie. Which is crazy because I looked it up. The composer did At Close Range, which that's a wonderful score. The film with Sean Penn, Christopher Walken. That's a great score. But this is awful. It's so melodramatic, like being a 1930s movie, and it was so distracting. That's how bad it was. It was distracting in the sequences when it's supposed to be action or they're just talking, and then this music. I mean, I don't know what the hell the guy was going for, but it helped. It hurt the movie. I don't say it helped ruin the movie, but I mean, I still don't mind the film. I liked it as a time waster, but it's awful. It's fucking terrible. Just so melodramatic. And so throughout the film, like, there are moments that are kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then there are moments I thought, oh, that's kind of weird. For example, okay, it's kind of cool that they show Michael Biehn in the same frame as his burning building. The show kind of give like a bigger scale to it. But then like he runs into the wall, goes through it. He's with the wife and the woman and the baby, and then it cuts. Now you figure you would like, okay, you don't show them escaping the building. I mean, I guess we assume because he's alive. But it just felt like a weird cut. It felt like, okay, it'd be, come with me if you want to live. And then getting out of it, and it felt as if that scene was chopped in half. It just felt like an awkward edit. There's a bit where Billy Blaines tries to stand with a knife. Now, granted, if you're to look at it as a robbery, it could have just been with a gun as well, because people do rob places with guns, so I don't know why he used a knife. There were a couple times where they used knives. I'm like, why? Why don't you just use a gun? Idea, people rob places with guns. Eventually someone would find him dead from a knife wound. It's not like that body would be kept dead forever. So, but he tries to stab him, and Michael Biehn is dodging, and he takes an iron, and I like the bit where he goes right towards the camera, and you hear this great smack, smacks Billy Blanks in the face with an iron. That was satisfying. Oh, that was a cool way of shooting it. Like, okay, Biehn, go towards the camera. Like the opening of the He-Man cartoon. He-Man. I like that. I thought it was kind of funny that at one point his memories are crashing when he's putting jelly on his sandwich. I'm like, that's why you need to stick the peanut butter. Fuck the jelly. If you see, if you stick with peanut butter, your memories won't be crashing. But here, it's the jelly, strawberry jelly. Don't use that. He does see Patsy Kensit, and he's leaving. And then again, at first they're trying to kill him with knives. I'm like, why are you trying to kill him with knives at first? He doesn't know you're there yet. If you just shot with a gun, well, there'll be no movie. I guess that's why. To get your attention, here's a knife. And eventually they do use guns like a minute later. But I don't know why they tried to kill with knives at first. But he did a little shootout in a parking garage. He gets to the hospital. Patsy Kensit's there. They try to kill him in the hospital. He's able to kill one of them. I don't know what weapons they use, but the sound of the weapons was kind of interesting. Because imagine if a gun has big brass balls, like 8 testicles. They're very deep. Sadly, those guns are never used again. It's like just so low, like bass wise. Like these guns have 10 testicles. Like I wish those guns were used more, but sadly they're not. And that's the thing with this film is that a lot of times you wish it would have gone more, it would have gone further. You like it's waiting for it to go all out, and it doesn't. Now, whether it's because of the director, because I don't recognize the director, what else he's done, maybe it's because of the budget. But again, it's one of those movies that I wish it was a canon film, a PM Entertainment film that could have gone full force and really be something special. Instead of just being okay, decent time waster. And then it's a bit sluggish, where it's now she knows something's up, but he takes her hostage, and she wants to get away from him, and he's trying to look for information. He did a bit with the bad guys. One of them is Robert Culp, who doesn't sadly have much to do. And again, the pace is a bit slow during that time. Until eventually, spoilers, this spoilers throughout, Michael Biehn does let her go. And then almost immediately she gets to this detective, and then they get shot at, and Michael Biehn hits this car to stop them, and you get this little shootout. Even in the porno theater, it's one of those scenes that, okay, it's an interesting setting, and there's some gunfire back and forth, but then the rest of the scene, not much happens. Pretty much ducking, drop Patsy Kensit down to another level, Michael Biehn goes down another level, and you're hoping, expecting that there's going to be some big set piece. Like, it wasn't a porno theater, but the hard way. There's a show in the movie theater, and there's some bit of spectacle going on in that scene with James Woods and Michael J. Fox. Not really the case here. And I don't know why it was in a porno theater. I don't know if there was what the rationalization behind that was, other than it's different. It just felt like a strange choice. Like American Wolf in London had that scene, but that was meant to be comedic. So it almost comes off as comedic to have a shootout in a. So I don't know. Also, some characters do dumb decisions. Like Patsy Kensit always keeps getting the ATM transactions, which has her name on it. I'm like, stop doing that. They know where you are. Then it's funny, at one point, they like drive all the way to Mexico. They're there for like 30 seconds. And it's like, I can't stay here. I mean, you just drove all the way to here. You're here for 30 seconds. I can't stay here. Probably because they can't afford with the budget to stay here. So let's go all the way back. Also, they find this institute, this Lane Mental Institute, where they find this chamber, again, like Resident Evil, this lab. And the fact that everything turns on still and like all this stuff is left here, you think this would have been demolished, uh, dismantled, torn apart. But no, it's there for anybody to, if they look hard enough, to find. And I will admit, some of it kind of looked like Star Trek. The consoles and even the little chamber when he gets in. It looked a bit like something about Star Trek. Seemed like. It was the most high tech looking place. Especially when like it's showing like images of the false memories and you see it like a hologram of it up on the ceiling. Like I said, it didn't look the most high tech. Like Free Jack, there's a reference when Emilio Estevez is in that mind thing and you see these like crazy visuals, images. It's definitely a bit more of a low rent type of thing. And that's where he finds out he's been brainwashed. Patsy Kensit feels sorry for him, so they get to a hotel. They have a steamy sex scene, which I mean I can't complain because it's Patsy Kensit. She's very beautiful looking. Two assassins, one of them Tracy Scottins comes by and they try to hurt Patsy Kensit. Michael Biehn comes in and smacks Tracy Scottins in the face with a chain. I'm like, ooh, shit. Then he's fighting this guy, flips him over the bed, puts covers, he just elbows him to death. And I thought it was just kind of, there's a bit where like he's all bloodied up through the cover. And you just see like, bah, bah, bah. Like imagine this is the face, and you just see like, bah, like this. Obviously, probably a dummy underneath, but just seemed like, I wouldn't say I laughed, but like, oh, it was brutal. I wish more of the movies were this brutal if that's the case. But I think also because I knew that was I could tell it was a dummy underneath. It's like, I don't know how else to, but there's some assassination going down. They get to this convention. They stop the assassination. Follows Billy Blanks up to this rooftop. They have a little scuffle. And that's the thing, you don't really get much of Billy Blank's martial arts. It's pretty much just kind of pushing each other. I like the detail that there's these signs. When they push in, there's all these sparks erupting. So at least that's something. Let's be, at least there's a number of little things that add up to a decent watch. Let's see the way it opens, Michael Biehn's performance, that elbow scene, it elbows a guy's face to death. The sparks coming up on, at least it wasn't just a bare roof. At least the sparks gave it a little bit more spectacle. But version just rolling around and then rolls Billy Blanks off the roof. He's hanging there. There's the head bad guy. Not Robert Culp. He like disappears, but the other bad guy, the detective shoots him. Patsy Kensit gets Michael Biehn up. Everything's fine. And that's the thing with this movie. You just wish it needed a bit more oomph to it. It needed a bit more, whether it's a budget or a guy who had the tenacity to do action sequences. Whether it be like a Trader Baxley who did Action Jackson, Stone Cold, I Come in Peace. Idea whether it be a PM Entertainment company behind it. The sci-fi element seemed a bit cheap. Just the chamber and the stuff, it didn't seem like a bit more money could have been put into that aspect. The pacing in the middle maybe be a bit tighter, and the musical score, like, let's say if action scenes need to go that extra mile to really help things be more entertaining, and a different composer because he did. It was just so 1930s melodramatic. It's like, my God, man, it's distracting. But again, there's enough decent moments throughout it. I say the picture was sludgy in the middle, but I wouldn't call the film boring. Michael Biehn was definitely worthwhile to watch. His predicament. The ending could have been a bit bigger. I wouldn't say it feels anticlimactic, but it could have been a bit, I don't know, bit more to it. Whether suspenseful or maybe like more bad guys, and Michael Biehn has a give a bit more body count against these assassins, trying to kill everybody in this section. So it's one of those films that it's okay. Would I watch it again? Sure. Am I running to get the Blu-ray? No. But if you like Michael Biehn like I do, it's worth a watch for him. It is. Don't expect grand stuff, but it's been, a decent time waster at the very least. So, I don't think it's that bad of a movie, but it could have been more. I guess that's kind of the disappointment. Just as I said, I'm like Michael Biehn. He didn't get to star in a whole lot of movies, so like the actual first Bill star. So, but this is not too bad. But with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.